Okay, welcome to the final video on ITS Tactical of rigging up a tarp. Let's get right in where we left off and we'll set this thing up. Okay, I've got the primary, secondary, and tertiary guy lines all right here. As you can see, there's no knots in them yet, so we'll demonstrate tying those knots. And the way that they're secured to the eyelets here on the ends of the tarp are with two half hitches. So the first step in this is to get this alpine butterfly knot done. So the tertiary guy line is roughly 6.5 feet. The secondary guy line is about 5.5 feet. And the primary guy line is 8 feet. So what you want to do is I usually use kind of my wrist and my armpit as a good gauge for distance. And that's where we're going to tie our alpine butterfly loop. So the way you're going to tie this, and we leave a little distance for it, is you're going to create a loop, just like so. And then you're going to create a twist in it, so you wind up with something that looks like this. Now this diamond or triangle shape here is really important because what you're going to do is bring that loop down. So in essence you've created two loops now, and with that middle part come around the back and through that initial diamond and pull, and that's an alpine butterfly. So let me show that again. Measure our distance. Single loop, twist again, bring it down. You want to make sure your lines stay straight here. And then that line comes around the back and back through. Alpine butterfly. So you're going to want to check your distance one more time. Make sure that's roughly wrist to elbow. I'm not quite sure that distance. It looks roughly about 2 feet maybe, something like that. So now the alpine butterfly is what your secondary and tertiary lines are going to tie into. So let's go ahead and go over the Taut-Line hitch. So you'll take your secondary guy line. You're going to come through the alpine butterfly loop. And using this loop, you're going to tie, I like to think of it as wrapping twice on the inside and once on the outside. So once on the inside, twice on the inside, and once on the outside. And pull. Sorry about the helicopter here. So there's your Taut-Line hitch. Just like so. So, now with the Taut-Line hitch, all you have to do is lengthen it like that, make your pull, and so on and so forth. I'm going to loosen these up. I'll tie the next guy line here, my tertiary guy line, into the alpine butterfly, and we'll get into staking this thing down. Okay, so the next step is taking this primary guy line that you have and staking it into the ground. Once you kind of have an approximate distance on where you think you want to stake in, and go ahead and hammer this thing in. And you want to have it at an angle where your cut is on your stake. Just so you get the right tension on it when you're tying it. So I'm going to take that paracord around that little cut that I made in the stake, and we're going to tie another Taut-Line hitch. And if you remember, it's just 2 wraps on the inside. And 1 wrap on the outside. So once we've got our Taut-Line hitch, all we're going to do is provide some tension on it and tighten it in. Now let's get into tightening the secondary and tertiary guy lines. And we'll change our angle and show that in a second. Okay, I went ahead and loosened up the guy lines, the secondary and tertiary guy lines on each side, just so you can see how much play is in this tarp right now, and how much the wind would affect this if it were blowing. So it's simply by tightening these secondary and tertiary guy lines, providing a little bit of tension. I'm getting the other side too. You can see that it creates a nice crisp tarp there, and definitely helps cut down on the amount that the tarp blows. So what you've got here is a complete setup now, showing the primary, secondary, and tertiary guy lines. It's a very complete system, not that hard to set up, and once you actually tie your primary and secondary and tertiary guy lines into your tarp, you can fold everything up into a nice package, stow it, and be ready to use it next time without having to retie anything. It does take a little bit of time to set one of these up. You're probably looking at a good 30 minutes to cut all the lines, get them nice and tight and tied in. But once you do get it set up, it provides a very nice way to set up a shelter when you're camping or anything like that. Very lightweight for backpacking. So let me show you how this all folds up. We'll tie in the guy lines and I'll show you how to get those cleared up and tightened up. We'll be right back. Okay, so the first step would be obviously to remove the primary guy line here. And we can just keep it rolled up the same way. We don't have to take out the Taut-Line hitch or the Alpine butterfly or anything like that. And the good thing to do, which Mike from Bushcraft Northwest also said, is that you just kind of roll these up here, and the tertiary guy line just comes in, but it doesn't get over tightened. So that way, this all stays as one compact unit. It's all still flat. And what I like to do is, Mike has rubber bands in his video, but what I like to do is just take some of this cord here, just loop it around and tie it up. So that hangs freely just like that, and you have nice little compact bundles on each of your guy lines there. So let's get that put up on each side, and we'll show you how to continue stuffing this back into the stuff sack. We'll be right back. So it all folds up into a nice compact package. So this has been an ITS Tactical video on setting up a tarp. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments, or comments on the article, or comments on the YouTube video. Either way, we'll try to get to them and get your questions answered. Thanks for watching, and happy tarping.